Started a breeding from one side of the family, from another side of the family, called Patricio. It started roughly 10 or years less than the one from Teixeira side. The breeding was, as in all the main agricultural houses in Portugal, very, very, very huge. We had 100 mares, because the mares were used not only for riding, but also for farming purpose, working in the fields. Then, with the starting of the tractors between the two wars, there was a very significant reduction on the number of mares. And in the beginning of the 60s, there was another fall down of the number of the mares. And we started breeding more specifically the Lusitano, because back in the days we had Lusitano, we had breeds. There was not there were good mares or bad mares, not Lusitano mares. And so we goes back to the 1980 something, 1986, I believe. Me personally, I worked with my father for years and years. We get along very well, so there was no discussion. We're both riders, both me and him rode for years. He was more a sportsman than I was. He made 2 endurance rides from Lisbon to Madrid and from Madrid to Lisbon, and also on smaller distance. So he was really a very good rider. So he had the functionality as a main goal. It was not just the looks, but the physical capacity of the horses. And when we started at the end of beginning of the 70s, we took 3 or 4 mares, taking advantage of a bad decision from the Portuguese government, who sold the best mares they had at Cudelaria Nacional. It was the Arras of Portugal by excellence. So these were 3 mares that started what we have today.
And what is your breeding goal?
Nowadays is to breed horses that are reliable, and those characteristics must had good physical performance and good brain. That's very important. To have a horse that's a pleasure to ride and not a horse you're fighting with. Those are the 2 main goals. If you decide to make a horse that's just a sports horse, then you have other breeds with better capacity than Lusitano. What you must have is the truly Baroque horse, but not on a despicable way of saying Baroque. The Baroque is the beauty of the 17th century horse. And it's that what we must look for, with the physical capacity of being a pleasure to be riding a horse and not having a horse that just goes jumping.
Where is your breeding located?
It's located in the region of Ribatejo and Alentejo, in the crossboard of those 2 regions. It's near the small town of Coruche, where I live, and I have them in Amoreira. That's why our products are named Amoreira. Pérola da Amoreira, Jasmine da Amoreira, that depends. And they are kept in full freedom, because we have still very huge farms, so they are in the open with hundreds of hectares to walk around and feed themselves naturally.
How do you handle the training of your horses?
Our horses are, as I've told you, in the open until they are 3 years old. At that moment, we take the horse inside the stables and they start being trained. Until then, they are in full freedom, alone, never, always with other horses. That makes the social relation between horses easier, and then it's also easier for the rider to have a horse that behaves well in the company of other horses, because they are used to have the hierarchy established between them. They are not fighters, they behave properly. So that's one of the things we try to have is horses with something inside their head. You know what I mean? Not difficult horses where you are fighting for 3/4 of an hour and then you must get back to the office because you finished your time you had to ride. So it's not a fight, it's a pleasure to ride a Veiga Teixeira's horse.
In the moment, which broodmare and stallions are the most important to you?
At this moment, we are on a shifting moment. We had mainly mares and stallions, mainly from the Andrade bloodlines. The Andrade bloodlines with some Veiga as well. And we had for a few years, we don't change much. There are other breeders who believe more on variety of stallions. We keep the same stallion for several years. So we had one stallion that was from the Ortigon Costa stud, and this horse stayed for several years. So now we are trying different stallions to see what the matches come from each one of them, and then we'll follow on the line of that stallion.
What do you find so fascinating about the Lusitanos?
I think Lusitanos is a horse for the 21st century. You see, no longer a horse is needed for war or for just sports. It's a multi-purpose horse. You can have him doing the Olympic Games. You can have the Lusitano being ridden by children, by different child. And then you have another quality. The horse must be beautiful. You must look at the Lusitano and say, this is a Lusitano horse. As you look at an Arab and you say, this is an Arab horse. There's a seal of beauty, of Baroque beauty, of expression. Lusitano's horse eyes are something that is not forgettable. And you have also another thing. It's a horse that's eager to please the owner. The rider likes what he's riding. And Lusitano likes to please its rider. So that's one of the main characteristics. We have a problem within the standards of the breed, is that Lusitano, it's not a big horse. And nowadays, mainly in southern countries, people is growing bigger. So we must take the challenge of making a bigger Lusitano than normal. Otherwise, people won't feel comfortable riding the Lusitano. Without losing the characteristics of the Lusitano and making him a bit bigger. Also, I have a personal position that's on the family because my father thought the same way. We are not trying to compete with the warm bloods or Dutch horses or just sports horses. Lusitano is different. We cannot go just for the capacity of making, I don't know how many meters per second, how many. It's not the goal of a Lusitano buyer to have a horse that can perform on the dressage contests only. He can go on dressage, but that's not the main goal. That's what I believe.
you.